Breaking news. Germany is, well, they're flooding Ukraine with Iris-T missiles.
And we are not talking about just a trickle of aid here.
No, not at all. We are witnessing a massive, coordinated surge in advanced air defense.
Yeah.
It's effectively turning Ukrainian airspace into a no-fly zone for Russian cruise missiles.
That really is.
It is Wednesday, January 28, 2026, and the entire landscape of the war in Europe, it feels like it just shifted dramatically. Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. I'm Alex. Join me with Aria in the latest Deep Dive by Defense Report for a sharp, no-nonsense breakdown of the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments. And today, we're going to cover a revelation that, frankly, changes the entire math of the European theater.
It really does.
We have to look past the standard headlines today. Everyone sees Germany sends more aid, but what's happening on the ground is a total restructuring of the security architecture. With the United States stepping back, Germany has officially stepped up. They're now Ukraine's top military backer. They are filling that void.
And they aren't just sending weapons from dusty old stockpiles. This is the key.
No, they're building a factory pipeline that is going to pump out advanced weaponry for years. This is the real shift from emergency response to full-on industrial warfare.
That distinction is just... It's absolutely vital. We are seeing a level of industrial mobilization in Germany that, it simply hasn't existed since the Cold War, maybe not even then.
And in this deep dive, we're going to get into some fascinating stuff.
Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about a specific Frankenstein configuration of these missile batteries that is just baffling the opposition.
And we're going to take you inside a tiny town in Saarland that has suddenly become, well, arguably the most important place on the map for European air defense.
And the numbers are just staggering.
We're hearing reports of 100% intercept rates in some sectors. Russian cruise missiles are hitting what is essentially a German wall.
So let's start with the trigger for all this.
Okay, what's the official word? What kicked this all off today?
We have to start with the scoop from this morning. The new German ambassador to Ukraine, Heiko Toms, he gave an interview to Suspilm that really laid all the cards on the table.
Right.
He confirmed that Germany has officially transferred the 9th Iris-T system to Ukraine.
The 9th one. Okay, so in a vacuum, 9 might not sound like a huge number to the average person, but in the world of advanced SAMs, is 9 significant?
In modern air defense, 9 systems is a fleet. I mean, to give you some context, most European nations don't operate 9 batteries of this capability in their entire armed forces.
That's a great point.
Back in 2025, Berlin promised to deliver 4 systems over the year. They delivered. They hit every single target.
And the total order is for what, 18?
18 systems. So as of today, January 28, 2026, Ukraine has officially received half of the entire planned fleet.
That velocity it's surprising. The narrative for so long was that Europe was sluggish, that they couldn't handle this kind of logistical lift without the U.S.
And that is the strategic shift we have to underscore. With U.S. aid largely discontinued or transitioned, there was this massive fear of a capability gap.
A window where Ukraine would just run out of interceptors.
Exactly. But if you look at the 2026 budget, Germany has stepped up with a record 11.5 to 12 billion for military aid.
12 billion. That is a massive commitment for a single year. That's real money.
It is. And the ambassador was very clear this is about hard power. They're not padding this number with helmets or humanitarian aid.
This is all kinetic.
All of it. They're focusing squarely on air defense to protect the energy grids, to protect civilians from what's just been a relentless bombardment. Germany has moved from being a contributor to being the backbone.
And Tom said that explicitly, right?
He did. He said Germany is now Ukraine's largest partner in air defense.
It feels like Germany has finally really accepted the mantle of leadership here. They're not just reacting anymore. They're anticipating.
Exactly. And while Toms admits, it's still not enough, given the sheer volume of attacks, the momentum is just undeniable.
So let's get into the gear itself. When people hear Iris-T, they think of the missile on a Eurofighter jet. But you've been digging into the manifests, and what's on the ground is, it's not the standard off-the-shelf unit, is it?
No, and this is where the engineering gets really fascinating.
Right.
If you look closely at the delivery manifests, at the reports from the Ukrainian Air Force, these aren't standard units. They're what analysts are calling hybrid fire units.
A hybrid fire unit.
It's a mix-and-match configuration that solves a very, very specific tactical problem.
So describe that for us. How is it different from the brochure version?
Okay, so a standard battery usually has a uniform set of launchers, maybe 3 of them, all the same.
Right.
But these Ukrainian units are being configured with 3 SLM launchers. That's the medium-range version.
You're the heavy hitters.
Exactly. And then they add 2 additional SLS launchers. That's the short-range version, all integrated into the same command network.
So 5 launchers in one battery with mixed ranges. Why? Why complicate the logistics like that?
It comes down to 2 things: tactical economics and what we call magazine depth.
Okay.
Think about the threats Ukraine faces every single night. You have high-tech Russian cruise missiles, like the KH-101, flying fast and low. But you also have waves of cheap Iranian-designed Shahed drones.
Right, and you do not want to use $1 million interceptor to kill a $20,000 drone. That is a losing strategy.
That's the Ferrari versus moped problem. You go bankrupt winning the fight.
So the SLM missiles are the Ferraris.
They're your Ferraris. They can hit targets 40 kilometers away, up to 20 kilometers high. They're sophisticated, they're expensive, and you have to save them for the cruise missiles and the jets.
And the SLS, the short-range ones, they cover the low end, the mopeds.
Exactly. The SLS reaches out to about 12 kilometers. And crucially, it uses a standard IRIS-T air-to-air missile that's just been adapted for ground launch. It's way cheaper.
And there are more of them available.
Larger stockpiles, perfect for swatting drones out of the sky. So by mixing them, the commander has options on a single screen. Drones come in, they use the SLS, a Calibre missile pops up, they fire the SLM.
So it prevents the battery from being saturated by cheap decoys. It's like having a sniper rifle and a shotgun in the same squad.
That's a great analogy. It turns the battery into this multi-layered fortress. You can't just flood it with junk because they have the cheap missiles for the junk, preserving the big guns for the real threats.
And guiding all of this is the radar. The reports keep mentioning the TRML-4D. Is this just a standard spinning dish?
Far from it. The Hensoldt TRML-4D is an AEA SADAR, active electronically scanned array.
Okay, so what does that mean in practical terms?
It means instead of physically spinning to find a target, it steers the radar beam electronically. It happens in milliseconds. It can track 1,500 targets simultaneously.
1,500 tracks? That seems like overkill.
It does, but I suppose in a saturated environment with drones, birds, debris, and missiles, you need that fidelity.
And it sees them from far away.
Up to 250 kilometers. That's the critical metric. It sees the threat long before it's in range, which gives the operators the most valuable commodity in air defense: time. Time to decide, time to prioritize. It's the brain of the whole operation.
And the performance we're seeing reflects that tech. We mentioned the kill marks earlier.
Yeah, the visual evidence is compelling. We've seen these photos of the command post containers.
The trailers where the crew works?
Right, and they're painted with stencils for every target they've hit. Some of them are just covered in these little silhouettes of cruise missiles and drones. It looks like a World War II fighter aces tally, but for the digital age.
Is that just propaganda, though? Or do the numbers actually hold up?
The data really supports the hype. During the massive attacks on Kyiv, operators were reporting 100% intercept rates in their sectors. There's a validated report from one commander saying they hit 51 out of 51 targets in one engagement.
51 for 51.
When the system is active and positioned correctly, it is basically an iron wall.
That is just mind-blowing, and it really speaks to the skill of the Ukrainian operators, too, adapting so fast.
Absolutely.
But here's the problem, right? If it's that effective, everyone wants one. Sweden, the Baltics, the German army itself. We've heard about backlogs stretching to 2030. So how is Germany flooding Ukraine if the line is out the door?
That is the pivotal question. And the answer is in a small town called Nonweiler in Saarland.
Nonweiler. Not exactly a metropolis.
No, but as of last week, January 23rd, it is the heart of European missile production. Diehl Defense just cut the ribbon on a massive new manufacturing facility there.
This is the factory with that weird shape, right?
Yeah, visually it's quite striking. The building has this unique rising shape towards the back.
Why is that?
It's not for architecture. It's a safety feature for handling high explosives. They're building the warheads right there. If there's an accident, the blast is directed upwards and away from everything else. It's purpose-built for mass production of lethality.
And this is part of that $1.5 billion investment we heard about.
Exactly. And here's the key insight. Diehl realized years ago this wasn't going to be a short war. They started investing their own capital risk money before the big government contracts were even fully signed.
That bet is paying off now.
Big time. They have increased missile production tenfold since 2021.
Tenfold. That is operational scaling on a wartime footing.
It is. And here's the aha moment with the numbers.
Yeah.
They're aiming to produce 10 full-fire units per year in 2026.
Okay.
By 2028, they want that up to 16 units a year. But the real number to watch is the missiles themselves.
Because you run out of missiles way faster than you run out of launchers. It's the printer ink problem, but with high explosives.
Correct. They are ramping up to produce 2,000 missiles per year. To give you an idea, before the war, they were making these in the low hundreds.
2,000 a year.
2,000 a year means they can sustain the high usage rates we are seeing in Ukraine without instantly depleting their own stocks.
This feels like a real turning point. For so long, the story was, we are emptying the warehouses. This sounds like we are filling the pipeline.
That's the perfect way to put it. It signifies a shift from emergency aid, scrounging for whatever's left, to sustained industrial output. Germany is signaling that they can keep this up indefinitely.
They aren't running out, they're revving up.
Precisely.
And it's not just the IRIS-T, is it? It feels like they're building an entire defensive ecosystem around this.
The IRIS-T is the star, for sure, but it's part of a network. Tom's mentioned that 2 additional Patriot systems were delivered late last year.
So you have Patriot for the high-altitude, long-range stuff.
Right. Then you have IRIS-T SLM for the medium range. You have the SLS and the Gepards for the short range.
The Gepards are still kicking.
They are legendary at this point. And they're getting new ammo production, too. But there are new players entering the chat in 2026. Have you seen the RCH-155?
The artillery piece that looks like a spaceship on wheels?
It is the world's first artillery that can fire accurately while on the move. It doesn't have to stop, set up, fire, and pack up. It literally shoots while driving.
Which makes it almost impossible to hit with counter-battery fire.
Almost impossible.
Yeah.
And Germany's delivering those this year.
That's wild. And I saw something about drones, too. Germany isn't just buying them. They're funding production inside Ukraine.
Yes, and supplying huge numbers. We're looking at 6,000 HX-2 strike drones from Helsing. These are AI-enabled, resistant to jamming, and maybe more significantly, 500 Luudi long-range drones.
The Luudi is the platform Ukraine uses for deep strikes, right?
Correct. These are the drones capable of hitting valid military targets deep inside Russia. So Germany is essentially funding the long arm of the Ukrainian military.
It really paints a picture of a comprehensive strategy. It's not just defense. It's enabling Ukraine to sustain the fight on all levels: interdiction, strike, and defense.
They're betting on Ukrainian victory. And we have to connect this to the wider European angle. Remember the European Sky Shield Initiative?
Udo SI. The project Germany launched that upset the French a little bit.
That's the one. Germany is leading over 20 nations in standardizing air defense. And guess what the middle-tier backbone of that shield is?
It has to be the IRIS-T.
Exactly. So by ramping up production for Ukraine, Germany is simultaneously building the industrial base to defend all of Europe. The non-Weiler factory isn't just for Kyiv. It's for Berlin, Stockholm, and Riga, too.
So, okay, let's bring it all together. What does this mean for the listener? Why should they care about a factory in Saarland or a radar system in Kyiv?
Because we are witnessing the birth of a new security architecture. For 70 years, European defense meant calling Washington. What we are seeing in January 2026 is Europe led by Germany actually building the capacity to defend itself and its allies.
It's a maturing of the alliance.
It is. The IRC pipeline proves that Europe can innovate, manufacture, and deploy top-tier tech at scale. And it sounds like bad news for anyone banking on Western support just drying up.
If I were a strategic planner in Moscow looking at 2,000 missiles a year coming out of non-Weiler, I'd be very concerned.
The whole Western fatigue narrative just doesn't hold up when you look at the concrete being poured in Saarland.
You know, we often talk about game changers on the show, and usually it's just hype. But this, a 100% intercept rate backed by a dedicated supply line, that actually changes the game.
It turns air terror into a solvable math problem, and Germany is providing the calculator.
A solvable math problem. I love that. Before we wrap, I want to circle back to the tech itself. This hybrid battery, the fire-on-the-move artillery, the AI drones, it seems like Ukraine has become the testing ground for the future of warfare.
Unfortunately, yes. But it also means that the systems emerging from this war, like the IRIS-T, are battle-hardened in a way that peacetime equipment never is. When Sweden or Slovenia get their units later this decade, they're getting a system that has been refined in the hottest fires of modern combat.
The feedback loop between the Ukrainian operators and the German engineers must be incredibly tight.
You have to assume it is. The software updates on those radars are probably being written based on data from last night's raid. That makes this system smarter every single day.
A tragic necessity, but the technological leap is undeniable.
It is.
But we have covered a lot today. From the diplomat's office to the factory floor and right down to the tactical level, it is clear that January 2026 marks a new chapter. Germany has stepped up, The factories are humming, and the shield over Ukraine is getting stronger by the day.
It's a story of resilience and industrial resolve. And frankly, it's about time.
You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex Anaria, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry.
This deep dive into the IRIS-T expansion really shows that logistics and manufacturing are just as important as the frontline tactics.
Absolutely. So here is a final thought for you to chew on. We talked about Germany producing 16 batteries a year by 2028. With that kind of capacity, and with the tech proving itself superior to almost anything else out there, is this the moment Europe finally achieves strategic autonomy in defense, independent of U.S. stockpiles? Are we watching the cord being cut in real time?
That is the multi-billion-euro question.
Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.